Hello, welcome to this live section on the psychology of online learning at KNUST, Kwame University of Science and Technology, the e-learning center. My name is Professor Erikapo Asante. It's important for us to understand that there are requirements in the course that you may be reading that may require that you go online to learn, that will require that you do some percentage of the course content online. In some cases, 10%, 20%, 50%. And in the case of full online students, you are doing actually all of the course content and the requirements of graduation online. And this really presents us with a reason to have confidence in our use of the online space. Online learning can be psychologically driven with the fact that it has the tendency of relatively creating a permanent change of behavior in the way you look at things. Your studies online may trigger a permanent change in your perspective about, for example, teaching. How people teach online might influence your reasoning about teaching forever. It might also influence your perspective about learning. It may trigger a permanent change in your perspective about research, socializing. It is an online space for socializing. Your response to time, where due dates really matter and cutoff dates really means a lot. And generally, your perspective about remote education. And this presents us with sometimes, as learners, some level of apprehension in online learning. It may present you with some degree of anxiety and uncertainty. For example, you may be asking some of these questions as you are about learning online, taking some percentage of your courses online. You may be asking yourself, look, I am limited when it comes to knowledge about technology. How would I be able to survive this online learning whole journey? Or what form of learning is this online part going to be? How is this really going to happen? What is it that is going to be presented to me whilst I study online? What if I lose my internet connection while I'm taking an online section like an exams or a class or interview or maybe a seminar? How would I be able to interact with my online facilitator or lecturer? I am really very slow when it comes to typing. And how would I even be able to interact with my colleagues? And how would I even know my colleagues? These questions and other questions of apprehension will keep popping and coming up. And that is why we are here to support you as an e-learning center. We believe that you need to be psychologically calm whilst you study online in the various percentages that is required of you. So I say be calm and seize the moment, because in best practices of tertiary education, online has really come to stay and it is the order of the day. So seize the moment, carpe diem. Online learning, I think that it is as friendly, and sometimes I say that even much friendlier, as the traditional face-to-face learning in a brick-and-mortar environment. It presents you with an opportunity to encounter a flexible yet quality learning, and you wouldn't need to have an advanced knowledge in technology in order to be able to survive this whole online journey. The good news is that there are a lot of tutorials, video tutorials. Some are in the forms of tests and print even, which have been prepared to usher you through almost every step as you journey on in your studies with the KNUST and with the support of the e-learning. Most of the online learning sections are also recorded and they are made available on the learning management system for you to play and replay in case you lost your connection whilst you try taking your class online. So you have no cause to worry at all. You can also take advantage of even the asynchronous opportunities that may be created for you to learn online. which is mostly self-paced. You can log in at any time. You can look at the resources that have been uploaded. You can interact, learn with them, send your concerns and comments as have been directed by the facilitator, and you will be fine. And even in the case of loss of connection, there are often redemptive chances for you, which is usually created by the examiner when you have to take an online interview or a seminar, and even all exams online. All you need to do is to psychologically know some few things which will help you whilst you journey on in your studies online. Remember that communication is key in online learning. Online interaction in the context of a course is just intentionally made available for you to create some level of social interaction. Your colleagues, your lecturers, and the resource they put there presents you with an opportunity to have a social interaction. So communication is really strategically required. It is required to build relationship, to build community. Online learning thrives on communication. And it is really very important that you take note of that. I think that there are some rules that you need to observe whilst you delve deeper into online communication. The first thing is that because the communication is very important, you would need to let people know who you are. In other words, introduce yourself. You don't want to be called iPhone. You don't want to be called Techno. You don't want to be called Nokia. You don't want to be called by your device name, the one which you have used to log in, for example, to a live section. So you want to introduce yourself by first naming your device with your name if it's an online section. If it is an asynchronous section, the learning management system has this aspect which enables you to rename, to even upload your profile and work your self-introduction into the space. Remember that culture influences communication a lot. People pronounce certain words the way their communication patterns have been like based on their ethnic tonation. So stay open where you have not really understand what someone is communicating. Avoid assumptions and ask questions which will help you to really understand what they mean. And that is very important. Know your context. Remember that it is a class and it is not a social gathering. So try to pose and try to present yourself as such, as you would have done in a classroom physical environment. The context is still a classroom in a virtual space. And your lecturer or your facilitator will usually set the tone to provide the guidelines for you to be able to interact with your colleagues as well. In the case of the KNUST virtual classroom, there are policies and guidelines and framework which have been developed to help you to know your context. If you visit the KNUST e-learning website, elearning.knust.edu.gh, you will be able to have access to these resources which are available for you to work with. Also, please respond to people using their names. Avoid using jargons and guide names and funny names and screen names to call your colleagues whilst you are online. It's highly unethical. Psychologically, you infuriate anger and people do not really want to come to terms with you if you start calling them by such names. We all come with some level of personalities. Remember that there is always a human being, a person behind the words or behind the voice. So if you don't understand anything, don't just quote and cause disorder, but rather ask for clarification before making judgment. And that really is going to help you and your colleagues to live in harmony whilst you learn online. I say that jokes are very helpful, but avoid excessive jokes, especially being sarcastic. They often don't translate very well in an online space. Psychologically, it has an effect on what you do with your colleagues. Check your tone before you publish any post that you want to post online. Make sure that it's a very friendly tone and respect your colleagues much as you respect yourself. Okay? That is really, really very, very helpful. Your text that you would post there would maybe be very difficult for you to retract later. So consider the content of the text. Let it be as you would really intended it to be, with a lot of decorum and considerations for the wider interest of the group. Remember that you have a responsibility to your colleagues whilst they learn online, and you are collaboratively working so that successfully you can achieve this goal of completing the program, the degree. There are tendencies where your colleagues' assertions may inflame you or may cause you to lose your temper. I would say that have firm control over your temper whilst you study online. Psychologically, this is very helpful. You may ask your lecturer or facilitator for the guidelines that will help you to be intact or be in tune with how he wants his class to be, and try as much as possible, even if you have to criticize someone's submission, be very constructive, be well-meaning, and be well-articulated so it doesn't bring trouble. Very importantly, avoid plagiarism, copying people's work without giving credit to it. It is called plagiarism. I call it academic kidnapping, taking somebody's information as though it's yours without giving credit to it. That must be avoided as much as possible. Now, I want you to take note of just these few things before I wrap up. Treat an online course psychologically like a real course. And in fact, it is. Just like we would have done in a brick and mortar space, the online course is also as real as such. You need to have that discipline to sit down to say, I'm going to work on this. And remember that you have paid for this course, and therefore you must have value for it. And the way to do it is to be self-disciplined. You must be self-accountable. You must be available for the course. You must ensure that assignments that are due are done, and you are not doing it just a few minutes before the due date, because you might lose the opportunity to even submit. Also, avoid what we call distractions. This can come even in live sections where people are crossing your screen, where individuals are talking with their microphones on, and this doesn't really help well. You are online and text messages and pop-ups are coming your way. Regardless of where you choose to work, please consider turning possibly your mobile phones on if that's not what you are using to learn. Try to put it off and then ensure that it does not interfere with your discussions and activeness whilst you are online. I would say be present in the online space. It's called online presence. And participants in the online forum who come in there to share a concern, a comment. Sometimes lecturers will create the forum for you to share and to discuss. You must make every effort to be present in the discussion forum. Psychologically, this helps you to build that relationship with your colleagues, your classmates, avoid being racial and being discriminatory, and avoid also posting sexually explicit posts on the learning management system. And even in a live section, avoid being seductive by exposing aspects which would be sexually explicit. And that is also important that we observe it. It's called netiquette. You need to avoid that, and that helps you. When long posts are displayed, sometimes it's difficult for people really to follow and to read through. So when you are posting online any message, as much as possible, let it be as brief and concise as possible. These sections will really help you if you have a live section, a Zoom conference, a Meet, or whichever video conferencing meeting you are called on. Make sure that when you are not talking, your microphones are muted. Psychologically, this helps you to listen and listen well, and help others also to listen. Be yourself and respect others. Ask questions, and this is important. It is not just the unmute that you can use to ask questions. Normally, A lot of lecturers prefer that you even chat using the chat room with your questions. You type in there and they would be able to read it. This helps for them to flow with the content and pause when they have to pause for questions. So use reaction buttons when you feel that people should hear you. There are reaction buttons down there. You can click and your hand is up, or reactions are given depending on the context that you find yourself in. Always think before you write. And psychologically, you would see that you are positioned to be able to learn very smoothly and effectively online. No matter the percentage requirement of online that your course may present you with, you would notice that it comes with lots of flexibility. Online learning can be fun. Online learning can be very conducive. You only need to psychologically position yourself for it, and you would be successful. We are here always to help you as an e-learning center with just a click.